When a video game is being made, it is nearly impossible for every bug to be noticed and fixed, especially if said game is extremely large and or complex. This is why almost every video game is filled with glitches, except for Kirby 64, and no, don't tell me that moonwalking is a glitch. This is only possible because of an oversight in Virtual Console. While some are big, some are small. Some are actually incredibly useful, while others leave you at a disadvantage. Kirby Super Star has an interesting variety of these bugs, with a particular way of doing one discovered only a few months ago, which saves a huge chunk of time in speedruns. Kirby Super Star has a huge oversight in the game, the fact that invisible ceilings don't exist. Because of this, you can fly over mini-boss triggers, saving a ton of time in speedruns. This was obviously fixed in Superstar Ultra. The easiest power to skip mini-bosses with would be Jet, as you could do a super jump and string across the triggers, but you can also do it pretty easily by jumping off of a helper and mashing the fly button while going across. There are even some sections of the game where you can skip mini-bosses even if there are ceilings. Some ceilings in the game are just a bit too high, so you can cling to the top of them and be just high enough to skip them altogether. This is a glitch I rarely see mentioned outside of speedrunning, but it is pretty large and I'm honestly not sure how it was overlooked during the creation of the game. Another big glitch, and one of my personal favorites, if you have an ice or mirror helper and have them teleport to you, then cling to you, you can slide into a wall, release them, and then be inside the wall. If you try to do this with any other helper besides an ice or mirror helper, you just can't slide into the wall. This is pretty cool on its own, but there is a huge problem with this when it comes to speedrunning the game. Believe it or not, this pretty large bug only has a singular known use in speedruns: to skip the auto-scroller in the second level of Dynablade. The problem? You need to get rid of your jet ability, get ice or mirror through a mix, clip through and drop your power again, then do another mix for jet. In speedruns, one extra mix is pretty much required, and another one not so much, but can save you a few seconds if done correctly. People didn't really care about the extra mixes for a long time because Dynablade was always done at the very beginning of runs, but then this idea of doing Great Cave Offensive first came into play. Why? Because if you hit a wheel mix and go through the cave with a combination of Wheelie Rider, regular wheel, and hammer, you can save roughly 30 to 40 seconds in this area compared to the old route with jet and wing. Now obviously that is a very huge chunk of time, but the extra mixes add a lot of stress for runners after GCO has been completed. They will be at the second stage of Dynablade around 6.5 minutes in. Way too many mixes. Something new need to be discovered. For many years, the speedrunning community of Kirby Super Star thought it was only possible to clip through walls with an ice or mirror helper. I personally thought it might have been possible with other abilities, but I was nowhere near certain. Until one day in May of 2019, where Jet Toast posts this drawing to Twitter. Jet Toast is a Kirby speedrunner who isn't really active much on social media. His most recent tweet before this one was in 2016, so this was surprising to say the least. This drawing shows how if you quickly tap the opposite direction with a jet helper, you can still clip through the wall. Now this was awesome. So yes, now it is possible to clip through walls with almost every helper. Some exceptions would include Plasma since it can't cling underneath you, and Wheelie Rider, but there is a clip you can actually do with Wheelie Rider. I will get to that later. Anyway, this glitch is incredibly fun to mess around with, and I personally believe there might be some extra time saves hiding around for speedruns, but no one has gotten around to finding them yet. Let's go over the Wheelie Rider clip I mentioned earlier. This is a pixel perfect trick, making it extremely precise and difficult to pull off. But if done correctly, you can fly through walls at a pretty fast speed. This is done by having a Wheelie Rider and a wheel ability at the same time, rolling onto Wheelie Rider, and then jumping off at a very, and I mean very specific location, and then of course mashing B to fly. This glitch is incredibly likely to save time in speedruns, but it is so hard to pull off that it just isn't even worth it at the moment. I was only able to hit it a couple times honestly. Moving on to a fun but a bit weird glitch. If you spit out an enemy on a particular frame while exiting water, this happens. Yes, you are now swimming in midair. It is pretty fun to mess around with, but if you get hit or enter a new room, the effect obviously wears off. The fact you can infinitely fly in this game makes this pretty useless, but just imagine if this glitch was in a different game besides a Kirby one. Super Nintendo D-pads do not let you press up and down or left and right at the same time. I've only seen one instance of this happening in a clip from Darbian, but obviously that was a very rare occurrence. Anyway, this game does not handle simultaneous up and down or left and right inputs very well. Here's a classic tool-assisted speedrun of Kirby Super Star by Master Jun. Let's watch. Yup. As you can see, a lot of inputs were performed here at a very specific time, making this humanly impossible, but this is also an effect of pressing up and down at the same time. Another example of pressing up and down at the same time for a glitchy effect would be using Jet to go through walls. Here is a GIF showing that from tastvideos.org. I've heard a lot about this glitchy Marx battle warp. Not much is known about this, but I've heard it's only possible in emulators, and if you happen to achieve it in an actual Super Nintendo, it is rumored to fry the CPU, so you bet I am never even coming close to attempting this. Needless to say, I cannot find any footage of someone running into this on an actual console. In the Great Cave Offensive, you can skip the bomb block sections by doing a dive bomb on a specific area with wing. This is very simple, but can save a bit of time in speedruns. I am not entirely sure if this is considered a glitch, but if you super jump underneath mini-bosses with jet, you can instantly kill them. This is very useful for speedruns during the mini-bosses that cannot be skipped. With the normal wheel ability, you can roll against physical and invisible walls by pressing Y, holding B, then letting go once you are touching the wall, and you can continue to deal damage without taking any hits while pressing nothing at the same time. It's pretty cool. In Milky Way Wishes, if you switch to the bomb ability while underwater, a bomb will instantly explode, but once you leave the water, it appears that Kirby is holding an invisible bomb. And that's it. This is another glitch that corrects itself when you either take a hit or go to another room, just like the midair swimming. Due to the fragility of the graphics chips in the Japanese version, all 3 files have a random chance to be corrupted, and honestly I have lost track of the amount of times I have experienced this. This bug happens to be very infamous in Japan. It is known as the 0%, 0%, 0% glitch. It was mentioned during a live streamed interview with the HAL Laboratory developers in the Kirby 25th Anniversary Orchestra concert, and even referenced in the anime pop team Epic. There is even a way to force a save corruption on the Japanese version. Surprisingly, this even happens to work in the Japanese Wii Virtual Console versions too. Go to Milky Way Wishes, enter Hotbeat, eat one of the sleep enemies, leave, enter Heart of Nova. I corrupted my save data for this video, you better have enjoyed it.